themselves. But let's see how this goes here. So I pulled up our lineup builder. This is our hand building tool. I'm looking at the DraftKings early slate, so just gotta click DraftKings, click my slate here early. I went through all the games and I found there's not really a significant chance of a postponement, which is indicated here. So that's probably my first step when I'm looking at a slate. Obviously, you you want to avoid those guys that potentially won't play. The other thing I'm looking at right now, one of the lineups is not confirmed yet. That's going to make stacking the Padres a little bit tough, as we got it here. So I'm going to take that into consideration. But usually when I play MLB DFS, I just use projected lineups and look at the best guesses for who's going to be in it. And if it's not right, then I'll just go later and fix my lineups by hand. It's a little bit tedious, but um, what I'll usually do is just hand tweak the lineups that have the most on them, and then global swap the rest, and just kind of deal with the fact that maybe it's a little bit suboptimal. But all right, so we got the early MLB top stacks up here. So we got this Coors game. Obviously, that's going to be huge. I got my team totals on the lineup builder here. So 6 for Houston, although that's really big. For Coors, that's just kind of run of the mill. So we know what to expect here. 4.8 is pretty low for Coors. I think the Rockies have a weaker lineup this year. It has nothing to do with Jose Urquidy. Urquidy. Sorry, guys. I'm still working on the baseball pronunciation. Um, so, uh, it looks like the Rockies may be a little bit overowned based on the fact that 14% of batters ownership is coming from the Rockies, while only 11% chance to be the top scoring stack. But this is a 5 game slate, so we can't be too picky necessarily. Houston also has the highest top stack percentage, but also ownership a little bit higher than that. So it might be a slate where uh, all these top stacks are a little bit overowned. That doesn't mean I'm going to avoid them entirely, but the first lineup I hand build is probably not going to have a stack that is going to be way more ownership than their chance of success. Um, so I'm kind of scrolling through the list here. This game, Minnesota 4.2 team total. And by the way, these team totals you're going to see are different than other places because um, the betting lines don't actually tell you the average number of runs scored. They tell you the median. In fantasy, that's not the most productive metric, but if you're trying to bet over under, it is. So I'm really focused on the mean because that's going to tell you um, like the upside. I'm not really worried about if 50% is going to be over 3.8 or something. So that's one thing to note. So um, I went through a lot of data to try to figure out exactly how to parse these um, team totals from the sportsbook lines. All right, so St. Louis has a really tough matchup versus Scherzer, so they have a low team total. Under 4 is generally indicating like there's pretty rough chances, but this time of year, because it's colder, there aren't a lot of stadiums that have great conditions. That's why LA might be a better spot this time of year, where normally LA is a little bit cooler than other stadiums. So Texas does have a pretty high team total for them, 4.2. One of the weaker lineups in the league here, so I think they would be a target where you're going to need an outlier day, but no one's really on them. So that would be a main target of mine. They have the biggest gap between the top stack percentage and ownership share, so that might be where I start off my lineup. And then it looks like Oakland, St. Louis mostly going overlooked here, even though their chances of being the top stack um, are significant. So, I mean, if there's 20,000 people in your tournament, you could just multiply this 6% times 20,000. So that would be 1,800. Wait. Um, okay. Well, let me just, I don't want to quote this figure and say it. 1280. So, 1280 of the 20. So, um, I guess you could say that 6% of the time one of those lineups is gonna to do well. So like 1280 lineups should be stacking them. Uh, anyway, I'm just confusing myself here. So let's put some stuff together. So I kind of identified Texas as a leverage stack. Since on DraftKings you can stack 5, I'll probably be doing that. Part of the reason is they're a little bit expensive today, so I'm gonna have to find a pitcher that I think is a good value, and it doesn't help they're going against a pitcher that is really underpriced. So I'll probably be looking at some of the heart of the order here. I don't want to fade like the best players, particularly because the rest of the lineup is going so low owned that I feel like I can just pick a couple of guys that might not be that good of plays. You get away with it just if they have an outlier day. So one spot I really like to do that is the catcher position. The catcher is batting 7th, which generally is a little bit high for a catcher. I'm paying a premium, which I don't love, but yeah, he grades out as an E value, which is here, but only 1% ownership. So usually with the catcher position, there just isn't a lot of talent. So the likelihood that the winning catcher comes from the winning stack is high. And then the other guys look like pretty rough values, but I see at the bottom of the lineup we got a couple guys that are C. The rest of the guys are E, which is this is all based on points per dollar. So I think you could just pick either one of these guys. It should be fine. Now let's put in some pitchers. So Scherzer, I feel like fits well with this lineup because we spent so little on our stack. We might as well get a great pitcher and another. It looks like Maeda is a good value. He's a little bit underrated. The matchup isn't great, but let's see how that shakes out for our lineup. Now with these remaining spots, I feel like there's a lot of different ways I can go. I went contrarian with my stack, and then I went chalk with my pitchers. So now I feel like maybe I want a stack that's somewhere in between. Um, or if it's not possible, I might want to take a couple players in a one-off. So I'm kind of eyeing this Rocky stack. Like I can't afford all 3 guys, but I kind of like Kron and Story. And then I just need to find a one-off that's 3,300. Um, and like because there's no good way to like put all these pieces together, then I don't think not sacking is a big deal. The time I wouldn't want to pull this is like say I had the option of picking a $3,300 batter from either the Rockies or Rangers, or just picking some guy from a random team. Of course, I'd want to go with one that stacks because it's unlikely that if my stack goes off, that a batter from another team is going to outscore the guy in the stack. However, like because it's impossible to fit that in this lineup, and uh, because it's impossible, then I'm safe just going to a one-off here, going for my 5-2 stack. So it looks like Ha Seong Kim is a good option if he's in the lineup, or I can go with Williams Astudillo. He's not looking like a great play, but he's a C value, so that's not terrible. So this lineup, let me take a look at it. So I went Chaka pitcher. That's totally fine because I got a contrarian stack. My secondary stack is like a two piece from Colorado, and because I couldn't fit another guy in, I just picked a one off. So I feel like this lineup has a nice mix of kind of the leverage of the Texas stack while still having a good like point production from pitcher. And then my one off is just the only one that makes it work, and he's low owned. So 97 projection. That is it's on the low side, but on baseball, I'm not as worried about that. Just to see, let me see what kind of projection I can get if I see this guy Chas McCormick is really cheap. Maybe if I wanted to tinker with that lineup, I could have gotten him in there. So let me try to build a cash lineup real quick, and I'll see uh, kind of what the ceiling is for projection today. Um, well, Matt, I was just reading with News God that he threw 90 or he threw 70 pitches in a simulated game, but the matchup is pretty nice, and he's a sick pitcher, so that means he's gonna throw around high 70s to 80. The it's tricky because the matchup and is very good where Yelich is in the lineup for the Brewers and stuff. It does show I have an A value for Lamet while Scherzer is a C. So I think the optimal will probably have both in there um, based on these. Or I could go with a Maeda or Quintana. They're both really underpriced. Um, Let me try Quintana. And let's see. I'm looking for a catcher here, so I can actually highlight all the catchers. I'm just looking for one that might be a better value than the rest. It looks like all of them are pretty bad values, but Avila is batting 7th, which is a little bit better than some other options, and he has an A value. Moreland at 6, 2,800, that's pretty good. But I have so much money left that I feel like I need some studs here, so dang, Vogelbach 2,700 batting third. But that's interesting. In like a cash line, I'm not worried about having guys that are stacked against my pitcher. All right. Let's see. Fletcher has good value, but let's see if there's anyone that has a little bit better projection. Maybe McMahon, E value, but B points. I can always let me swap out Quintana. I feel like the optimal is gonna have Scherzer, so let's go with Fletcher because he has A value there. And then third base, I feel like Bregman's probably the cash third baseman, just great player in a great park. This is telling me that Story perhaps is a better shortstop today, or I could go with a value guy. So let's go with Story. And then with outfield, you usually can find a couple guys that are really underpriced. Raimel Tapia batting first for the Rockies is like a cash lock. And then Andrew Stevenson batting first is he's at 100 too much. So Scott Schebler is 2K. That's kind of insane. We just got the Padres lineup, so let me refresh that in the projections. But as you guys can see, the optimal lineup is going to be higher than this, 109 points. So my first lineup was like 97 points. So it was quite contrarian. That's not necessarily a bad thing in baseball. Um, so I'm good with it. All right, let me take another stab. First, I'm gonna update the projections, and this projected lineup should come in here in a couple minutes. I don't think that the, the Padres look like an amazing stack, but we'll see what their lineup comes out as. Now let me just run an update to the ownership with that, so that you guys, if you're building some early slate lineups, have all that stuff. All right, so I think Houston looks appealing here because, oh my god, the ownership on every single batter is insane though. So this one is tricky. Um, so if I go with Houston, I need to figure out a way to make it a unique lineup, which could be tough. But Texas could be a good option to pair it with, or I could go with Oakland. It looks like no one's on Oakland today. Um, so why don't I try that? I do kind of wonder, like Chas McCormick. I feel like he's going to be one of the higher owned players based on the salary. But maybe if I leave him out of my lineup, and then I go for the lowest owned guy, Yuli Gurriel. He seems to be a little bit overpriced today, which is a way that I can get a little different with my stack. Go with Correa. Brantley is definitely not one of my favorite players. I feel like he doesn't have a ton of upside, but it's baseball, so anything can happen. Maybe I'll go 3 through 6, and then I guess the catcher. Dang, it's crazy how much money still is left here. All right, so let me put in my other stack, the Oakland stack. Um, it looks like I can get 1, 2, 3, and now I got 7,400 per pitcher, or 7.05K per pitcher. So Quintana and Maeda's 100 too much. So let's see, Ramon Laureano 4,700. There's no easy swap there. What about Tucker? Okay, I can go from Tucker to Diaz. Definitely a downgrade, but Diaz is still B in points. So let's see what the difference is, because it says a projection with both. It's only a difference in projection of like 1 point. So I think that's pretty solid. Oh shoot, I picked the pitcher against my batters. That's a no-no. So let me go back to the well here. I feel like I definitely don't mind picking a little bit of a contrarian pitcher, given that my stack is chalky. But I feel like it might be easier to if I go with Montas. Oh, that fits perfectly. So I'm done. One feature here I wanted to show you is if you go to export, you can, okay, you have to select the slate here. So then you can click the export lineups, and you get a CSV that you can upload to DraftKings. It's important to keep in mind here. I'm gonna check the chat, see if there's any questions. If you guys got some, drop them in. And let me build one more lineup here. Okay. So Minnesota looks like it's a good mix between being a good value, having low ownership, and a high stack percentage. So definitely a stack I'm looking at. I'm probably gonna want to get in. Wow, Byron Buxton is 6,100. That is ridiculous. I don't think he'll be 0.2% owned like our algorithm says, but I definitely feel like people might avoid him at that price. Um, so that is almost a reason for me to pick him in baseball. Um, Cruz also kind of expensive. All right, I picked three of the biggest name guys here. So now let's try to mix it up a little bit. See, this guy Brent Rooker has an A in value. Well, I need that because I did spend up a lot on those batters. And the 2% ownership, I feel like, will give me a little bit of differentiation here. And then let's go with Polanco here. So my guys here, like pretty low ownership here. J12 says, is there anything you reference for pitchers in place of the top pitchers tool for early slate? I just noticed that we don't have that up for the early slate, so let me ask about that because I don't think it would be that hard to include for every slate. All right, so let's put in some pitchers here. I mentioned how Lamet, I don't think he's going to go so deep, but even that, despite that, the spot looks amazing. So let's go with Lamet. And then I need a little bit of a cheapie, so no, I'm not going to Coors. Let's go with Quintana. Certainly a great pitcher that is a little popular, but got 4,300 left per player. I went kind of chalky at pitcher, so maybe I want to go for a team that's somewhere in between chalk and contrarian. Colorado seems to toe the line pretty well, so that lineup kind of came together nicely. I could upgrade a little bit here, so if I wanted to take Rooker out, I could go up to someone else, but let's see this. Dang, Jonathan Daza's only 2,300. That's crazy. I do feel like dang, if I had 900, I could get Raimel Tapia. Going 4-4 is a pretty good lineup construction, so I think we might be able to figure out a tweak to make this one a little bit stronger, but I think I feel good about this one. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully this helps you get the hang of the lineup builder a little bit more and how to hand build, and good luck today.